Alphas, Gaylords, and Bossy Men panel. Really appreciate everybody being here today. I am Shay Savage. I'm going to be moderating this panel of amazing women up here as we talk about. Can we say? We can say assholes.
Yes. Assholes. I say arsehole. Okay? Let me just be clear with them.
But if I say arsehole, then I'm mocking. So we can't do that. So it's going to be ass. I'm going to start with everybody just giving a quick introduction of themselves. I am Shay Savage. I write an eclectic mix of very angsty, dark, action-adventure romances, and they tend to have some very broken, asshole-ish, and alpha crazy men. My background's in psychology, and I like really, really damaged characters, so that is my focus.
Hi everybody, I'm Becca Vry, and this is my first novel, my first time signing on here. After 12 years to get this novel out, so it took me a long time to write. And it feels good to be here, and thank you all for having me.
Hi, I'm Bonanza. I'm nervous. Yes, I'm breathing. This is my first signing and my first panel. After romance, spicy, very spicy. And also assholes, most of mine. Assholes. And yeah, that's what I'm at. You want assholes? All my books have them.
Hi, I'm Cassie. I write under Hallman, and I write dark and contemporary romance. All my books also have assholes in it. I like pairing them up with innocent heroines, and that works for me as well.
Hi, my name's Erica. Hi. And I write dirty books, and they have assholes in them as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Skye Warren. I like writing like alphas, age gap, professors, the shit I do with people, and I'm happy to be here.
Alright, so let's just dive right into this. Why are these assholes and alphas and bossy men so appealing to readers? And we'll start with Alpha. Yeah. You said you were nervous, I'm going to throw you right out there. So you're just going to get that done right now.
I think it's, for me, it's they're assholes and they're bossy. But the female character sees like a softer side. It's like, he's just soft for her, no one else. And I think that's what makes it like gooey, I think, in the romance. I don't know, that's my opinion. That's fine.
I know, I was agree with you. I think the difference between the hard, asshole-ish, bossy man and this kind of softer side, it's kind of the, bringing the animal into a calmer state through her presence and her energy. I think that's a lot of the appeal for a lot of them. What do you think, Becca?
I think that what appeals, about the asshole, the alpha character is that it's his vulnerability, I would say, and that the vulnerability then transcends to what the other characters in the book have to deal with, and what they learn about themselves by dealing with mental complexities, as well as.
Now, Erica?
I don't know why they're appealing. Honestly, they're arseholes. What do we think of them? I think that we come to these books thinking, I want this man to change. And it's impossible in real life. So it's nice in a book that you can actually see a redemption path for these people. They're fantasy characters, really. So I think that's the appeal, certainly for me. And I agree with Bella that you want to see someone bring a young innocent woman. This is certainly my appeal. Bring this powerful man to his knees. I love that.
I love all of that, and speaking specifically about like alphas and bossy men, is that I feel like, sometimes we talk about like, oh, let's like have more strong women in books, like we should show strong women, and the thing is, like, every woman I know is incredibly strong, and in fact too strong, to be, and we're all like exhausted. That might just be me, and like this might just be so I'm like, you know what? Fictionally, please show up and protect me from the world, which is actually a pretty sharp place to be, and feed me, and you know, just do it. Like fictionally take care of me. And it's like, it's not because I can't take care of myself. That's not the fantasy. The fantasy is, what if I like don't have to for a day? That's the fantasy.
I think that's where the difference between the fantasy and the reality really comes from. In reality, because we all, I don't care what you're doing, what your lifestyle is, whatever, you've got to be a strong woman just to be surviving. So we're all strong women in here. And if you are always living here, you live your life having to be in control and in power all the time, it is exhausting. And having that fantasy of letting go of that control, I think, is what's really appealing to a lot of people too.
Yeah, I would agree with Erica. I like the arc, the redemption arc the best. I like when they're really assholes in the beginning, and then the women are bringing them to their knees. That's my favorite, the redemption arc of the whole book.
Okay, so what do you think the difference is between an alpha, an arsehole, and a bossy man? Erica?
He's my assistant, so I'll shut up. What's the difference? Well, I'm not really sure. I think alphas, I actually write men, I wrote a man who is perceived as an alpha, but is so not. And my other male character is very much a beta guy, but steps up to the game. Are either of them arseholes? One of them definitely is, but you love him anyway. And he's very, very bossy. The other one, not so much. He's just a decent, lazy, rich bloke. So which is a real difference. So what is the difference? I think I can only talk about the two characters that I've written, and one of them is incredibly driven from a place of, who's come from a place of complete and utter poverty, and the other guy isn't, because he's come from a place of complete and utter privilege. So yeah, I think that's not really answered the question, but I don't really have any more to say. Those are, I'm a bit tired, so I'll shut up.
I mean, I think you can write a bossy romance, like a bossy guy romance, and in a really like traditional contemporary romance that's not necessarily considered like pushing the edge, because guys can be bossy in real life, and that can be like a real life situation. But I think there's something that can happen in like an asshole kind of a book, or what are we calling them, a-holes? I'm sorry. And we're calling them assholes. We're calling them assholes. Where if you set up the framework right, if the author has done that, where we know how that the more he pushes her away, it's because he cannot stand being around her because she calls certain things inside him that he has repressed so deeply, then it's almost like the more of an asshole he gets, the more he loves her. So that's what I enjoy.
Is there a difference?
In my opinion, I don't think there's a difference. I think a bossy and an arsehole, and alphas kind of go together. I don't know, my male characters have got all three of those nailed to the T. So I think there's a big difference.
So I think the bossy goes along with both the arsehole and the alpha. But I think you can have a bossy alpha that isn't an asshole at the same time. I think there is a difference between occasionally do something arsehole-ish and ones that are actually projecting an asshole behavior. And I think I've got some that fit both. You know, that they can go either direction. But I like the alpha bossy in particular, because I think it falls back into that. I want somebody to take control for a while, so I don't have to.
But the other thing I feel like with this question is like, when he's being an asshole, like there's a lot of assholes that would be soft for her, like they were talking about, and so he might just be bossy to her, but an asshole to everyone else. Yeah.
And that is something I think really appeals to a lot of readers. this person can only be tamed, you know, the savage beast can only be tamed by this one person. I think that's kind of the crux of a lot of the fantasies that go with our asshole men.
I struggled with this actually.
Well, how is yours different? Because yours is a kind of a different type of alpha
It is.
from other things.
It is because he's an alpha and he's an asshole, but I strike the reader with the reasons why, and he realizes it at the very beginning of the novel. And it was hard for me because he's not bossy, although I kind of wanted to make him bossy. The children in the novel are. But I think it was really difficult to try to make that balance between the redemption arc of this and throwing it at the reader at the beginning. But I found it so fun to try. So it was a good time, but this is very different. And he's different just because he realizes his mistakes. And he is very vulnerable from the start. And the reader watches it as he struggles with it, and the children struggle with it, and the wife struggles with her own vulnerabilities. So it's just an interesting mix.
So just to kind of touch on that word vulnerability, I think does everybody feel like that's something that you use to make this bossy asshole a more likable character? And is there something specific that you did or have done with your characters? Go ahead, Bella. Either one of you, both of you. The blondes in the middle.
Sorry, what was the question?
What do you do to make them more vulnerable and softer and more appealing to readers?
I think it's the connection between the characters that really sets it off. That he, like we said before, that he's an asshole to everybody else, but then with her, she's like the one he's sweet with, or can be sweet with at least. Well, not in my books, but in other books. Because in my books, I write really dark books. So in my books, he's just an asshole to her all the time, until much later in the book. And then, like in my books, you just want to slap him in the beginning. You don't like him in the beginning, and then he grows on you later. So that's my book specific.
I think there's like certain scenes that you bring into your book. Like with my book, Alexius, he's this big mafia arsehole. And he's an arsehole to her in the beginning as well. But then there's like a scene where his father dies, where he goes through this vulnerability stage where she actually sees an emotional side to him. And I think to add something like that into a book can actually strengthen the connection with the reader. It's okay, you know, this person actually might have some feelings beneath all those layers of arseholery.
There's a human under the asshole.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Yeah, so would any of you want to actually date any of your alphas and assholes or bossy men, and why or why not?
Have you met my husband?
I love him. He's not as best. No, at the beginning. Sorry, Max.
Skye?
Mr. Warren is the original a-hole, so he's the mold, you know what I mean? And I just love him. So yes,
I personally wouldn't, because it would be exhausting. And yeah, I do like the idea of taking care of an action. My husband does a really good job of that, so I'm sure.
I actually like writing my characters from the exact opposite of what I like in real life, so I would never date one of my men. I just couldn't imagine. Yeah, like Erica said, it would be very exhausting to date one of my bookish boyfriends. It's all fantasy. Like I think that's the appeal, that it's different from your real life. But do we really want this? Just like I said, I write dark romance, so in the dark field, I don't think the women actually want this in real life. It's just a fantasy.
No, I don't think I would. Like she says, it's fiction, and I think that's what's the appeal. It's in real life, it's different. I mean, let's say spicy scenes. Someone should tell me some building movies right now. fiction, but I wouldn't. No one's going to boss me around.
Well, I think there's a certain limit to how much that most people are going to put up with.
Yeah.
And in a book, you know, you've got all these other things that are going on that break into that, and you know, and again, you know, it's the fantasy versus the reality. But I think what you're saying is this is why all my relationships fail.
I know I love all these women with boundaries, but I, you know, hashtag can't relate. Same.
Because I based a few of my characters off of men that I had dated and no longer dated. So that probably says something too. Because there is a huge difference between, you know, with a lot of romance in general, between what you would actually want for your real life versus what is fun to read about. I think it's an important distinction as well. Just kind of in general, I think that's important. Okay, I'm going to hit on a couple of specifics. Becca, can you talk about the red thread that is shown on your book cover and how it plays such a prominent role in the storyline?
Yes, Greek mythology I find to be very interesting, and it's a perfect catalyst for telling, I think, a modern day story, and I just love it. And so my characters really feel that I build them around these myths, just because they're so inspiring to me. The red thread. So Ariadne gives Theseus a red thread and says, you know, you're going to take this in, unfurl it, when you go kill the Minotaur, you're going to come out and follow the red thread, and it will allow you to escape your death. And she saves him. And I find that we all, I think, have a red thread that we can follow in life, and sometimes we lose grasp of it, or we might not feel like we have it in our hands, but we do, and we don't realize it, the red thread is us. Or it might be someone in our lives that can help us get out of some complex problems. And so I just kind of threw that in there, and I just love Greek mythology, so it's my jam. Yeah.
Alexius is the first book in your Dark Server Mafia series, featuring the Del Rosa brothers. As the author, why is this series the one that you are the most passionate about?
Well, the first reason is I've got Isaac Rubin on my cover. Yesterday, a reader came up to my table yesterday, and she's like, "Oh my God, this guy's eyes just sucked the soul right out of me."
Yes, please.
And I think it's because it's romance, heavily romance and erotic, but it's also, it follows family of the brothers, the Del Rosa brothers. And it's also about their connection as a family and the connection between the brothers. And I like that it's not just the romance connection, it's the whole family, and I love writing that. I love just exploring that part of the mafia life, you know, because they're close. Everyone, I don't know, the whole family, I just love it.
Skye. So your last release is called The Professor. Features Alpha Arsehole and a forbidden relationship with a student. So did you ever have a crush on a teacher? Or a professor?
I just kind of feel like who didn't? Like, what were we doing? We were all just like gazing starry-eyed at the front of the room, but it might have just been me. I don't know. I think I love. Okay, here's the thing. I know we all love an OTT alpha, and I love that, but I also love seeing them try to show restraint. Seeing them try and then fail ultimately, like failed horribly, just the worst. So I enjoy seeing the restraint and I enjoy seeing them fail, and so that's why I like to write a lot of forbidden romances. And I wrote, and also it was really interesting what she was talking about the red thread, because I am so obsessed with Greek mythology, and I feel like a lot of us are, and I love that story, and it was so beautiful and emotional, and I feel like it just like contrasts like with my books, because in my books the hero is the Minotaur every time. So
I think though sometimes that's the case with even our own problems that we suffer. They the monster we have to slay. And as women, we don't often.
Oh, we slay that as sex. I'm just.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'd rather not have my issues. Or we can talk to my therapist about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's true.
You just gotta fuck that meth time.
Sorry, Max.
So, but I like the imagery of the red thread, and I love imagery in books in general, and especially something that kind of takes a bigger theme and draws it through the whole books. Are there other things that anyone else wants to bring up of imagery that you've used throughout any of your novels?
Well, as you can see on mine, I have a small which is like for dark romance specifically, and it stands for, you know, death obviously, but also just the darkness in general that comes in with the books. And yeah, I have a snake on this one too. Yeah, a snake slithering into the skull. It just
Sounds hot.
yeah, and it's I don't know why it's so appealing, but this is like my most bought cover. Everybody loves it. Everybody comes by the cover and it's like, ooh, I love this. With the flowers specifically, I think it like just shows the beauty with it, that it comes from the darkness as well.
Covers are hard. As an author, I'm very much a words person, and I'm not a graphics person, which is why I hire people to take care of those things for me. And I've really frustrated a lot of cover designers with, what would you think needs to go with this cover? I don't know. I mean, probably somebody hot. I don't really know what else I could add.
But don't you think that would make a really great text for everybody? How many writing that, right? It sounds cool.
How do the rest of you come up with what are you going to put on this cover? Becca, go ahead. You've got your.
Well, I actually had difficulty with this because I pulled up the top 500 books, and there were only 9 white books. And I'm like, why is that? I just want the purity of the story. Have the couple behind the words, a little obscure, let the reader wonder. But it was very hard to decide what to do with it. And in the end, I just thrilled with it because it's different to me compared to what I see now in romances.
See, it never occurs to me to pay attention to the color of the cover. I am not a graphics
It was a
person.
risk because I love these covers.
Yeah, I do too.
And I didn't know, should I be different? Should I try to, you know? And so I just took a risk, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Well, how do you choose what goes on your covers?
I'm really full of shit when it comes to covers. Really. I like the man covers, that close-up face covers. For special editions, I think with the discrete covers. But in general, as a reader as well, you know, it's the cover that grabs me. And if it's got a hot model on there, it's going to grab me. So that's why I go with the models. So.
Yeah, most of my covers are object covers, and like I said, the dark stuff is usually the skull and the snake. So all of my covers, or like object that go with the story. So the first book, and this is the omnibus with 3 books in there, but the first book is King of Corium, so it has a crown on it, and the second one is Drop That Queen, so it has like a tiara on it. And the third one is Broken Kingdom. It has like a gate on it that's broken apart and shattered and stuff. So it all like objects that kind of go with the story, but still have the darkness and that the story is that comes with it. I have some people covers too, and then like you said with the eyes, that's like the big thing. You want them to draw. If you have somebody like a man, you want them to be drawn to the eyes usually. That's like the best thing ever. You want them to get sucked in.
I design my own covers. I love doing that. I came up with this tie, thinking no one will know what this is a really quite a naughty book. That really worked. I saw something in a bookstore, I could see it from Mark because it was very, you could just spot it. And to tell you an interesting story about this one, This is my son on the front of this cover. I took this picture during lockdown because there was all of this thing. And we had such fun doing this, and I had to paint myself out of the ring. So fortunately, it was all tidied up by blue. And actually, for Christian's point of view, for the first cover, Grey, I wanted to use a child, a little boy's eyes, because that's how I think of Christian. But I was not allowed. So there we go. But yes, I chose body parts for Christian, and it was what was the name? I think her name was Andrea Wilson, who came up with I had the chest, and she just drew the lipstick line across it, which I thought was genius. So she did that. And yeah, I really enjoy it. I love graphic design and all of that, and I really enjoy doing it. I have a lot of fun.
So my background before I became a writer of dirty books was in computer science. So I'm really into data. So I'll make like 5, 10, 20 covers, and then I test them, and I see what readers like the most, and that's what I end up using. But hey, first of all, I love them all. Actually, I won't test something if I actually just don't want to use it. But also, I really love this trend that we're in right now of special editions, because sometimes there's a cover that I just know is not going to win. And it's just not the kind of thing that is clicky for ebooks, but is gorgeous, and I want it on my shelf, and some readers want it on their shelf. So I'm like, some people don't understand, they don't get the vibes of the special editions, but I'm like, no, I actually would like 20 versions of my favorite book on my shelf. Thank you.
I think as authors, we all love readers that want 20 editions. So I think this is a wonderful trend. Please keep it up. These are great things. Being writers of characters that other people might not understand, do you ever end up feeling like you have to justify why you are writing about these particular kinds of alpha asshole bosses?
I spent the entire book breaking down what their problems were, why he was the way he was and she was, why she was silent, and the backbone is, and where she derives her strength and he learns from her. But it was so hard to do.
I think throughout you need to, it's just plainly just an arsehole, just to be an arsehole. The reader's not going to like him, so he needs to be, I think that's where the female point of view comes into play, because she's the only one that sees like the softer sides to him. And there definitely needs to be a redemption arc as to why he is like that, just to make him more likable. Because in the beginning, when he's just an arsehole, readers are like, do I like him? And then as soon as he starts showing a different side to him, then, so it's definitely, it needs to, I tried to, but only like way later on. He needs to get all the asshole out of there first, and then do the whole redemption thing.
That's an interesting point of using the female point of view in order to show his softer side. I write mostly from male point of view, and I kind of do the opposite. I'm showing you his softer side because there's that he says versus what he's thinking, and he knows he's being an asshole, and he feels bad about being an asshole, but doesn't feel like he can help himself, or because he's damaged, because he has these other things going on in his head that he can't, and that's part of the beginning of the redemption part. I think in the beginning of the book of seeing like what's going on in his head versus what's coming out of his mouth. So I think it's interesting that you kind of like doing it in the exact opposite way, but it's still effective.
I agree with you. I write to a point of view exactly for that reason, so I can have him be an asshole and also show like what he's thinking and why he's being an asshole. I think it's really important that he has a reason why he's the way he is. So I always have like a heavy backstory and show the reader why he's acting that way. I think he wouldn't be likable if you don't explain his actions in the book.
Yes, I agree with that. And I try not to explain anything.
Point shown.
Absolutely.
Shout out to
I know, never apologise, never explain. That's fine.
I don't remember. No, do you ever feel like, do you ever find yourself or feel like you have to justify the types of characters you're writing?
No, I think that's
We kind of diverged.
Yeah, because my brain was like thinking
It's a game of
redemption.
redemption.
The thing about redemption is always really interesting to me because I do feel like some authors or some readers are like, yeah, I want him redeemed. I want a good gravel. And then others of us are like, why did he turn into the prince at the end? I really liked the beast. So I don't know, I'm always really fascinated by the question of redemption. But in terms of explaining, I think that's what I love about coming to Bonanza and events like this, and also like the online spaces, is it's such a safe space. Like my greatest fear is to break out of this space because here we are understood, and even if someone doesn't like the exact same books that I like, they respect that. And when you break out into the wider world, that's when you start to see a lot of pushback and a lot of confusing, contradictory, ultimately sexism things that are hard to, you have rooms full of men deciding what is going to be programming for women on TV and things like that. So I love this community.
That could be a whole other thing. So, do you ever feel like, even in your books or maybe a book that you really like, that an alpha asshole didn't deserve redemption? Or is there the possibility for redemption in any fantasy character, in any fictional character?
I think that I would be pretty sad if I didn't believe that someone was possible to be redeemed. I don't know. Maybe I'm an eternal optimist, but yeah.
I agree with you. It would be sad if the character can't redeem himself. I think that would actually. It was mentioned earlier that I think it would lose the appeal of the character, especially from the female point of view, that she's the one that tames the beast basically, and I don't think she would want to tame the beast if there wasn't something deeper, like a deeper scars that needs to.
Does that make her success dependent on his redemption as well?
No, I don't think so, because she may fail, but in the end, she might discover something extraordinary about herself, and then I don't see a conflict there.
I think we have to root for the hero. You want to root for them to be together, even though they're, could be poles apart for whatever reason, class, money, all of that, those kind of things, different backgrounds, different things. But you want them to be together, and I think that's the thing. You have to root for the hero. And I find, for example, watching Succession was very hard because where was the hero in that? And I had to watch it 3 times, the first 3 episodes 3 times before I could get into it, because there was no one to root for except to sit there and be just astonished at how terrible these people were. And that's a different kind of program making to me, as someone who used to make a lot of telly. So yeah, it's interesting. I think we all like to root for a hero and for these couples to be together.
I think you need someone that you're wanting to see that growth and find that growth to complete the arc. At least I do. I want to see some change in someone. It doesn't have to be huge. They don't have to end up perfect. But I definitely want to see some of that change. Skye?
Well, I definitely like to. I do like to redeem a hero. I just think the definitions of redemption are interesting because I feel like they vary. But I do feel like that, and I'm a little bit of a rebel. So what I like to do is be like, oh no, that guy's not redeemable. Wait, but how would I? And early on, I wrote darker books than I do now. They were like extra pitch black and dark. And so I wrote one book, and my husband read it. It was very hard for him to read. Actually, I think it's harder for dudes to understand, right? It's just hard, like, why is he so mean to her? Anyway, and so I wrote it, and he read it, and then I told him, I said, hey, this is a wild idea. I'm not sure how my readers are gonna take this, but I just feel called to do it. I'm gonna write the villain's story. And he was like, oh, okay, like, that's interesting, okay. And then like months passed, I was working on it, and then at one point I'm like, really thought the villain was definitely going to die in the end, and that's what I meant by I'm writing his story. So.
Yeah, I agree with everything everyone said. We need a redemption arc. If you can't be redeemed, then nobody wants to read the story or watch the television show or whatever it is. Not even just in romance, like everything we watch. We want to root for somebody and we want them to be redeemable.
Even in our own lives.
Yes,
In real life.
even in real life.
Yeah, especially in real life. Right?
Especially in real life, yes, for sure.
Yeah.
I think redemption arcs are very I think that's a really powerful thing.
She has something to say about alpha men, so she's just wants to participate in this conversation. She has no alpha
We should
to
have
tell
brought
her what to
Zephyr.
do at all.
We should have brought her boyfriend.
Let's do some audience questions. Any further? Anybody got a question for our panel members up there? Stand up and speak loudly, please. Don't believe the people who say this isn't a viable career. I was 42 before I published anything, although I'd written 3 novels in my 20s. I never attempted it, so I think that's the biggest thing I would say to myself.
Anything is possible, and it will happen. Don't go in Goodreads.
Yeah, I was told when I was in school, my teacher told me, "Oh, you're a great writer, but there's really, like you said, there's no career in that. You should go and do like something else, a business or something, because there's really no career in it." Warriors people. So yeah,
Asshole.
Yeah, that's what I would tell my younger self. Like, don't believe what other people tell you. If they tell you you can't do it, and believe in yourself.
Does he know?
Yes, he knows.
Good.
He knows. What does he think? He said he's proud of me now. So good ending.
I would say don't believe that everyone in Hollywood knows what they're doing.
Extrapolate, come on.
Well, I think I've said enough about the latest experience, but yeah, you think you go and make some movies and you think everyone knows what they're doing, and they really don't. So trust in yourselves, trust in your gut, always. Hollywood does not understand the female gaze. It doesn't understand stories for women, and you know, we have to fight for them.
Are they redeemable? The people in Hollywood.
No, they're just assholes.
Some are, some aren't.
I think write the book that you want most one to read, that you can't find. And while I do talk a lot about marketing with authors, and I love to help them sell more of the stories that they've already written, like the fact is, I try not to talk about what you write, because the thing, and that would be my advice, don't listen to other people who tell you what to write, because there is a story inside you that only you can tell. And I'm not actually talking to Old Me. Old Me actually was completely in the weeds, and I wouldn't tell myself a thing if I could, because then I wouldn't end up here. So that was just to anyone who is in the audience who is thinking of writing a book. Don't listen to anyone, it's your story.
What else do we have out there? Back to that. Stand up.
I have a question.
Yell loud. I know you can.
Okay. Oh, I can yell. I was gonna say, so when writing your books, how do you deal with the exhaust that can come with the character you are writing, or the family that you are writing, and how do you deal with the mental health and also tying mental health into what you are writing?
So first of all, that's my daughter asking the question. And she knows the answer to this already because my therapist is on speed dial. And she probably needs therapy because of me, because of my creativity, because you just have to lock yourself in your room and go for it. But I think just speaking to other people, honey.
Well, I'm someone that I put myself under pressure. I usually wait to like 3 weeks before deadline and I need to write this book. And then I'll just lock myself up and then afterwards I would just go into this mental breakdown, just cry for like 2 weeks. that's how I deal with it. But if
I think that's actually very common. I know I always have a mental breakdown whenever I'm done with a project. And I think when you're putting so much of your time and your energy and your lifeblood into something for so long and suddenly that creative process has stopped, you don't know what to do with yourself. And I think having a mini breakdown when you're done writing is very common in authors.
Yeah, I think
Mini waxy, whatever.
breakdowns are very, very common for authors, and a lot of us are highly medicated as well. So it's
We agreed not to talk about it.
Or self-medicated.
both doctor-medicated or self-medicated. But yeah, like I said, I write really dark romance, and that can be very, very draining. I've written one book especially that was like really stressful for me, and that had a lot of trauma that I dealt with myself in it. So I had a huge breakdown afterwards. And the way I deal with it though, I have a pen name where I write like really fluffy, spicy stories, short stories. So I usually write those in between, so it's not so draining for me. It's Darcy Rose.
I'm still work in progress, frankly. It's been an interesting few years of a sort of wild roller coaster ride, and yes, I'm in therapy as a result. But yeah, I'm having a very loving family helps, and lots of great friends that you can talk to. Oh God, she's going on that tangent again, and are very tolerant of me. It's interesting because I think if you are writing dark stuff, and the project I'm trying to do at the moment is fairly dark, it's actually unnerving going there, and you think, should I go there? And so I sort of paused it for a bit to try and think it through. But yeah, it's a good idea to have a good, solid family base and all of that, people to talk to. And I'm very lucky because I have that. I'm very blessed.
Well, one thing you can do is you can bring your dog with you. But I find that writing is my therapy. I also have regular therapy, but the writing has done a lot for me. And I find that my subconscious is very, quote, helpful in the respect that it's like, you know what you should do? You should write a story just because like, it's going to be fun. That's the only reason. And then I get like halfway into it and I'm like, oh, we're going to have to deal with that now. So, yeah, I mean, and it's not even, obviously, it's, there's things about romance, but I wrote this one series and I had managed all the way up into that. It was like many years into my career to not write a single heroine who had a mother who was around. And I'm sure, I was like, listen guys, I'm gonna have to change this up just so that no one figures it out. I mean, this is years in, so like, it was as obvious as possible. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna write it to mom, and she has a good relationship with her mom, and that's okay, I can do it. And I was like, but they have to have some conflict, right? Because she's here, and she's not just like a two-dimensional character like me. And so the conflict is going to be that the mom has cancer and does not want to get treatment and wants to go into hospice. And the daughter is fighting this, and that was book one of a duet. And then I wrote that, and then I had published, and then I sat down to write book two, and I was like, wait, the only thing that can happen in this book is that the mom has to die. That's the thing that has to happen. And then I had to delay the book, and I had to spend like a year grieving the fact that I will not ever know if my mom passes. So, yeah, it's like, I don't know if the question was like, how do you keep good mental health, or just like, how do you like keep messing it up worse? That's how I do it, so.
I'd like to write all these dark, messed up characters. But my background originally was psychology, as they told me creative writing wasn't really a career you could have. And with a psychology degree, I was always very fascinated with very broken, messed up situations. Why I've got, my heroes are heroin addicts and alcoholics and PTSD and or a caveman. I don't know where that came from. But yeah, I think that's almost what I have used for my therapy. Is like I get all of my dark feelings and my dark tendencies through these characters, and usually see how it really like makes things worse until they start turning around and start building on that redemption. And maybe I learned something from there, and I don't know, it saves me on therapy bills and medication and bottles of medication that can get kind of expensive. So. So, we have another one? So is there a character of yours that you feel is the most like you, most like yourself?
I actually am Amelia Olsen, so she's based on me in my journal entries from many years ago when we were first married, and we were drifting apart. I didn't have a voice. I wasn't speaking up, and we were both just so involved in our own lives, still loving each other. But I just was conflicted because I was losing myself and I didn't understand why. And so I took all of those journal entries, every single one, and put them into this novel. And so she's me. She's me. Yeah, so I guess that's your answer.
All my female characters, there's a little bit of me in them, but I can't say this one specifically that I think, okay, this is me. I think all of them are like parts of me, is in all my characters.
I've written one that I just talked about a little bit called Lock Me Inside, where it's a really dark romance. And the things that happened to her didn't happen to me like at all. But there was some trauma in the time when I was a teenager. There was a time when I felt like really helpless and like nobody would listen to me, and that I didn't couldn't get out. I felt stuck. I didn't have anybody that was rooting for me or that could help me. And that like I said, that was like my trauma dump book, I guess. It was my trauma dump book. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that, of my own trauma in that book that I let out.
I went to see a kinesiologist. I don't know if you know me now, the sort of woo kind of thing. My aunt was doing it, and this is fairly recently, and I thought, oh, I'll go because she's doing it. She said, and I lay there, and she sort of crossed her hands over me, and she said, we're going back to when you were pre-verbal, blah, blah, blah. She said, you're terrified of love, you're terrified of being hungry, and you don't like to be touched. And I lay there and thought, fuck, I'm Christian Grey. It was such a shock. That's what I was thinking when they were like, I connected with my fellow characters, and I was just like, sometimes I'm just vibing with the guys. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna like, there's a lot of unfairness in the world, and I don't care what the rules are because I have money, power, and I don't give a fuck, and I'm gonna do things my way. And so I can relate to those as well. Yeah. But yeah, no, I did struggle. Specifically, I have struggled with being biracial in my life, and so I would not see Indonesian characters. I mean, it's a small country, that's partly why. And then I also just frequently didn't see biracial characters of any kind, much less specifically being biracial Indonesian. And it felt so scary to me the first time. I was like, wait, I can do that. I can write that book. And I did, and I was like, wow, that was big, okay. But that was it, that was my one allotted book, because like how many half Indonesian people are there in the world, right? Like I don't want to make
I'm allowed to write every character like that. Like, I can write every single character like that. And it's just weird that things we like don't give ourselves permission to even put in books. So yeah, I have that experience.
I don't think I'm like any of the characters that I write, and that's probably best. I mean, I certainly have like little bits of me that might be, and there's certainly, I write a lot of things that did happen in my life, but not the really dark, crazy, hitmen or anything like that. All the research on Google is just research.
We're all over this.
I know. Every once in a while, I feel like I have to post that somewhere on social media and say, just for everyone who's watching, it's just research. I don't really do not need to hire anyone. I just want to know what they might make. This is just research. Okay, what else we got? Oh, okay. Sorry, 5 minutes is yours? Oh, we're done. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go eat.